Hello everyone, my name is Rahul Jaiswal, and in this video we're going to discuss about what's the best platform for FMG preparation, right? So what are all the platforms available out there? First of all, we have NEET-PG के लिए we have MARROW, we have Prepladder, and for FMG exams के लिए अपने पास we have NLC, we have MEST Coaching Institute. In the previous video I discussed about MEST Coaching Institute because that's the coaching institute I was in, and I shared my experiences and how my journey was for during the FMG exam. I scored 195 in my second attempt. In my first attempt I scored 133 exam. In my first attempt I was in Gautam Nagar, where I saw all the coaching institutes that we have for FMG preparation. I only had 2 months and a lot of problems due to which I could not clear it in the first attempt, and in my second attempt I scored 195 and 194 and cleared this exam. So in this video I'm going to summarize and take a step back and let you guys figure out what's the best coaching institute for you for FMG preparation alone, right? So before we move on, we need to understand FMG exam के लिए what are the two important things that we need, right? We need good quality videos, and we also need a lot of MCQ practice before you get into exam, right? Because it all comes down to MCQ. If you can solve MCQs right now, and if you give 3 grand tests and you score more than 150 in all of them, you don't need anything. There's a very good chance in the 4th exam, which is your actual exam, if you go there, and you will clear this exam, right? So MCQ solving is very important, right? More than the videos that you see on the platforms that we have, right? After the exam, when you get the results, see, it's a 300 mark question paper. If you score 150, you become eligible for NEET-PG, and if you score more than 165 in general category, you become eligible for NEET-PG and INI-CET, right? And if you become eligible for INI-CET, when you give this exam, you get into postgraduate colleges in the central medical institutes like AIIMS New Delhi, PGI Chandigarh, and all that. Why is this important to know this detail? Because we have coaching institutes that are dedicated to NEET-PG as well, INI-CET as well, and these coaching institutes also teach FMG students. So we don't want that, right? We want coaching institutes that are specifically designed for FMG students alone, right? So moving on, in order to understand what's the best coaching institute, we need to understand the number of people that give these exams, right? FMG exam mein na, this exam occurs twice a year, just like INI-CET, and it has the same number of people giving this exam, versus NEET-PG has a lot of people giving this exam, right? So we have 2 lakh people attempting for this exam each year. It occurs only once a year, but it's still significant, and it's more number of people compared to other 2 exams. So it's natural to assume, right, that all these coaching institutes would want the maximum number of subscribers, right? So 2 lakh students attempting these exams, right? So DAMS, MARROW, Prepladder, and all these major platforms, they majorly focus on the NEET-PG exam preparation. So what's the goal for this video, right? It's to get a coaching institute that's proper for FMG exam, right? But for FMG exam, we have less number of people giving it, and there's a very few coaching institutes that are only teaching FMG students. For example, we have MEST, we have NLC, we have all those extra professors that we find on Telegram and crash courses that we have out there available. So for my preparation, I used MEST alone, right? MEST was my platform for which I used in both of my attempts to clear this exam. There's also other platforms like NLC, and there's a lot more. There's like King's College Institute, and there's a lot more institute that are dedicated to FMG exam as well, right? So which one between the 3 is ideal for which one among all these is ideal for us, right? In order to understand that, we need to understand exams के बीच में फ़र्क क्या है, what are the differences between these exams, and how similar they are in terms of question paper and all that, right? So the NEET-PG exam questions are sometimes relevant to FMG questions because NEET-PG has overlap with FMG, unlike INI-CET. right? So if you go to a Telegram group, right, if you go to a Telegram group that has a lot of MCQs out there, right, you need to understand what those MCQs are dedicated to. Are they INI-CET MCQs? Are they NEET-PG MCQs? Or are they FMGE MCQs, right? Are they the recall questions of FMG? Are they the recall questions of NEET-PG? Are they the recall questions of INI-CET? So it's very important to know that recall questions are the most important thing, right? Recall questions or recall topics, whatever you want to call it, the most important thing is to do the past 5 years question paper for the exam that you're preparing. That's standard. That's something you will find in every YouTube video on every channel, right? Do the recall questions. People say there's 20-30% recall that comes every year, but I disagree. I think it's 70 to 80%. Most of the paper is recall only, right? So what's the difference, right? For if you've done with FMG recalls all of it, if you've been preparing very hard, so you may want to solve a few NEET-PG questions if you have some extra time, but but you should never do that for INI-CET exam if you're preparing for FMG exam, right? So for FMG we have 300 questions, 300 mark question paper. NEET-PG occurs once a year. INI-CET is a totally different thing, right? So FMG exam and NEET-PG also has a similar pattern. We have conceptual subjects which are more important, like the four major subjects that we have internal medicine, we have surgery, we have PSM, and we have OB-GYN. These are the major four subjects out of which the MCQs come out from. If you've done these four subjects very well, there's a good chance you will pass the exam all alone, even if you've not done all the other exam, like all the other subjects as well, right? I mean, I'm trying like kind of extending this thing a bit, but please bear with me because this is important to know, right? So uh, yeah, so you can just pause and look at these things. I'm just gonna keep moving on फिलहाल के लिए, and it's very important to know this thing, like this for FMG we have 300 marks of question paper, and if the exam occurs twice a year, so and if you decide to do the recall questions for the past 5 years, that would account for around 3000 MCQs. And if you do the same math for INI for NEET-PG, there's only 1000 MCQs that go in. So if you've done these 4000 MCQs well, you've almost done everything you need to do for your FMG preparation, right? And then INI-CET also has 2000 MCQs, but these 2000 MCQs are not relevant to our preparation, right? So out of all these platforms, right, now coming on, now we understand what these exams are and how these coaching institutes are dedicated uh, to the learning material of all these three exams, right? So for Prepladder, MARROW and DAMS, right, DAMS is something that teaches people like on face-to-face basis, and MARROW and Prepladder are institutes that have a really good online presence, है ना? And MIST is a combination of both in NLC as well. They have both offline and face-to-face classes, right? So what's the difference between all these institutes? Now coming on to the gist of the topic, right? It's very important to know key MCQs are important and video lectures are too, right? The coaching institute like MIST and NLC have professors that have been teaching only foreign medical graduates all this time, right? So they are the king of their lecture. Everything that they say from top to bottom is like a performance, and everything that they teach is only dedicated to this FMG exam. Versus video lectures from MARROW and Prepladder, if you try to study, they are somewhat dedicated to FMG if you go to the FMG section, but they are not as crisp as these institutes that are only teaching FMG students. It's almost like Spotify versus YouTube Music, right? YouTube ka main feature is videos, right? And if you go to YouTube Music, it does the job but not as good as Spotify, है ना? क्योंकि Spotify is only dedicated to music alone, है ना? So MIST and NLC are like Spotify for music, and MARROW, DAMS and Prepladder, all these major platforms are dedicated to, they are versatile basically. They teach everyone in these platforms. There's learning material for all these three exams, though they have segregations between them. When you solve the PYQs and watch the videos, it's not as crisp compared to these institutes, right? But what's the benefit of these platforms? See, MARROW and Prepladder have a really good online presence, right? So they have a really nice interface. And how is that important? When you solve MCQs from these platforms, they explain it very well, and you can bookmark them and see them and review them, right? And they have a really nice grand test system, these platforms, right? So when you give a grand test, it will show you what are the subjects that you're failing in and what are the subjects that you excel in, right? These platforms also, the MIST and NLC and all those platforms also give these details to you, but they are not as concise when it comes to interface, right? Their lectures are very good. MIST and NLC, the lectures are perfectly amazing, but when it comes to previous year questions, they do give you test and everything. They have test and discussion sessions as well, but these platforms give you more autonomy and way of learning, right? Because when you solve an MCQ in these platforms, they give you a detailed explanation at the end of it. So in conclusion, what I'm trying to say is, if you want only one platform that you want to stick to, MIST or NLC would be ideal for this. NLC is cheaper than MIST. There are other platforms as well, mind you, but this is my observation because these are the platforms that I have interacted with individually, right? When I was in Delhi, I've seen the NLC coaching institute and I've seen MIST coaching institute. That's the reason I'm only discussing these two. In NLC, the coaching fees was very less, significantly lesser than MIST coaching institute, but the MIST faculty was very nice and the way that they teach was amazing, and I have recommendations from my seniors as well that MIST is good when it comes to FMG preparation. That's the reason I chose MIST, okay, in both my attempts, to be very particular. And during my preparations, at the end, in the last month before the exam, when I was solving MCQs, I had MARROW Q Bank. I was only solving the question bank from MARROW. I was not using the notes. I was not doing anything else from this thing, right? So because the MARROW ka notes, if you look at the notes from MARROW versus the notes from MIST, NLC and all those coaching institutes, it's very small, it's very concise versus all these platforms. They have very vast notes ka bundle. If you see the MARROW notes, it stacks up to, I cannot explain this thing. It comes as high as my hip, right? That's how much it is when it comes to MARROW and Prep, versus the MIST ka platform is as good as one arm if you compile all 19 subjects. I'm trying to be figurative in this sense. So yeah, so MARROW, why MARROW notes are very lengthy? It's because NEET-PG exam ko they are very dedicated, right? And it's a lot of conceptual subjects in it. That's the reason I never chose MARROW ka study material when it comes to notes, right? But the MARROW ka question bank was very amazing. So this is my conclusion for you guys, right? If you can afford to buy two platforms, if you go for MARROW Q Bank only and go for video lectures from all these platforms, like one of these platforms, it's very important to stick to one notes only and one platform only. But when it comes to Q Bank, you can have a slight modification. I told you exactly why, right? So in conclusion, choose your platform wisely. And I know FMG is like tough. There's not like, when we come to India after graduating, there's so much that's going on. Relatives are coming in, and there's like a bunch of platforms out there. You have to select quickly and start preparing. So I wanted to make this video to help you guys understand what are all the platforms out there. All these crash courses also there are on individual professors that are giving out crash courses as well, and there's telegram groups where you can find MCQs. Make sure if you do, you only solve the FMGE wale MCQs and not the INI-CET and NEET-PG MCQs, or else you'll be just wasting your time, right? There's time for that. Once you clear your FMG exam, that's when you can go and do that, right? So I wanted to make this video to make a few things clear and help you understand why I'm asking you guys to choose a dedicated platform when it comes to FMG preparation, right? And not go for the the platforms that you've heard in your first or second year, like MARROW and Prepladder. These are the only platform people know of when they're like in first year of medicine or something like that, because that's how they promote themselves. These are big platforms, right? They cater a lot of people. But if you want a soulful lecture that has everything, it's a combination of everything, you can go for mist. That's why I like mist so much, because they had a lot of motivation going on in there, right? It still looks like I'm heavily shifting towards mist, but you can also go for other coaching institutes that are dedicated to FMG preparation. That's all I'm recommending, right? So yeah, be proud to be an FMG as well, because as you can see, a 5 year previous year recall question for FMG is 3000 MCQs versus NEET-PG and all that. We have the highest amount of MCQs. That means we have the maximum number of portion, but the only difference is we only need to score 150. It's not a competitive exam, right? So this is all I wanted to say. Thank you so much. I'll take a goodbye. Oh, and yes, I forgot to mention one thing. So, if you are in first year or second year of your preparation, you can go for platforms like MARROW or Prepladder, because, as I said, they have huge like lengthy notes, so you can make a good concept out of it, right? So, if you're in first or second year, you can go for platforms like MARROW and Prepladder. And when it comes to these platforms, the FMD dedicated platforms, they are like 6 month courses to the maximum. They do not have like 1 year or 2 year subscription, so you have to take this subscription at the end anyways, like at the end, as in after your graduation or something like that, when you have your documentations ready and you're ready for giving the exam. That's the time you go for platforms like mist and NLC. Like the exam occurs twice a year, right? So the platforms give out like subscription for six months. So just after the exam, another batch will start and it will end at the exam, when the exam happens. So the best part about these platforms is you get a concise note and the information that is only relevant to the FMG preparation, versus these platforms, they have a huge margin and you get to understand a lot more things. Because what happens at the end now, after FMG exam, you don't stop. Most people don't stop, they try giving NEET-PG at least once, right? And I honestly recommend people doing that, right? So if you're in first or second year, you can go for NEET-PG, solve all the Q banks and everything. And if you are at the end of the semester, even if you've done MARROW very well for the past 4 or 5 years, you can still go for miss, just to be safe. We don't wanna fail this exam, because we also have 1 year of internship and everything after that. So time is important, and just to be safe, you can go for subscriptions like these at the end, after your graduation, or like in the last few months of your graduation, you can go for these platforms, right? But if you are in the first or second or third year of your preparation and you wanna go on about it, you can go for the major platforms like these. All right, that's all from me. Thank you so much.